what could possibly scare 9 experienced hikers so much that they would slash their way out of their own tent and run, underdressed, into the lethal embrace of a Siberian winter night? This question is not the beginning of a horror film. It is the end of a true story. It began in February of 1959. The group of students, led by the confident Igor Dyatlov, were masters of their environment. They were all expert skiers and seasoned hikers, pushing through the unforgiving beauty of the Ural Mountains on a grueling trek to a peak called a Torten. Their journals, recovered later, were filled with laughter, songs, and the casual confidence of people who felt at home in the wild. Their final camp was made on a slope they chose for its strategic position, a mountain the native Mansi people avoided, a place they called Kolat Shakal, the mountain of the dead. When weeks passed with no word, a search party was sent. At first, there was just concern, but as days bled into one another, a cold dread began to settle over the searchers. Finally, on February 26th, they spotted it. A single abandoned tent, nearly buried by the driven snow. The scene was wrong. It was too quiet. The canvas, instead of being neatly unzipped, was slashed and ripped open from the inside. A frantic, desperate exit. Inside the tent, the searchers found a scene of chilling normalcy. Boots were lined up, warm coats were folded, and a half-eaten meal was laid out. It looked as if the hikers had intended to return in a matter of moments, but they never did. Leading away from the ruined shelter were the tracks of 9 people. The investigators noted with a growing sense of disbelief that the tracks were not chaotic, not a panicked scramble in all directions. The hikers had walked calmly and deliberately down the slope toward the tree line. Some wore only socks. Several had been completely barefoot, pressing their naked feet into the snow in temperatures that plunged to a murderous -30 degrees Celsius. The first 2 bodies were found over a kilometer away, under the sprawling branches of a massive cedar tree. They were stripped down to their underwear. Their hands were raw and scraped to the bone, the flesh torn from a desperate attempt to start a fire. High above them, the tree's branches were snapped, evidence that one of them had frantically tried to climb. What were they trying to see? Or what were they trying to escape from? 3 more bodies, including Dyatlov's, were found scattered between the tree and the camp. Their postures were frozen in the act of a desperate crawl, as if in their final moments they had realized their mistake and were trying to get back to the shelter they had fled. The cause of death for all 5 was ruled as hypothermia. A tragedy, yes, but a logical one. The real horror, however, was still waiting beneath the snow. It took 2 more months. As the spring thaw began to weep away the winter snowpack, it revealed what it had been hiding. In a ravine buried under 4 meters of snow were the last 4 hikers, and their injuries were a physical impossibility. One had suffered a skull fracture so severe it defied explanation. 2 others, a man and a woman, had their chests crushed with a force a doctor would later testify was equal to being hit by a car at high speed. Their ribs were shattered. Yet, bafflingly, their skin was unmarked. There were no external bruises, no cuts, no signs of a struggle. It was as if an immense invisible hand had simply squeezed the life from them. And then there was the final, grotesque detail that tipped the investigation into the realm of nightmare. The woman with the crushed chest, Lyudmila Dubinina, was found with her head tilted back in the snowmelt, her mouth agape. Her tongue was gone. The official investigation hit a wall of inexplicable facts. some of the hikers' clothing tested positive for notable levels of radiation. Other campers and the Mansi people, miles away, reported seeing strange, silent orange spheres of light maneuvering in the sky on the night the hikers died. Faced with a puzzle it could not solve, the Soviet government abruptly closed the case. The files were sealed, and the official cause of death for the entire party was cryptically listed as a compelling natural force. What was that force? Was it a rare infrasound-induced panic that drove them mad? Was it a secret weapons test that poisoned them with radiation and killed them with a concussive blast that left no mark? Or was it something else entirely? Something ancient that gives the mountain its name? What did they see from the top of that cedar tree that made a slow death by freezing seem preferable? The mountain holds the answer, locked away under a silence as deep